Welcome to Retail Crime Uncovered, the go-to podcast for anything and everything retail crime related. I'm your host, Professor Emmeline Taylor. Welcome to this episode of Retail Crime Uncovered. It's a really special one. We're recording from New York City. You can see Times Square. It's right behind me here, all the bright lights. And we're here because the NRF Big Show is taking place over the next few days. I've taken time out to catch up with Roxanne Christenson. She's the Director of Accounts for Sekura, and she looks after the North America region. Welcome, Roxanne.
Thank you.
So, wow, tell us a little bit about Sekura and your role within it.
I've been with Sekura for about 5 years now. Sekura provides security solutions to retailers. So we partner with a variety of retailers across North America, and that's where my responsibility falls. I deal with retailers in the US and Canada to ensure that they're not only getting solutions, but the right solutions. We try to be very innovative and really responsive to their needs, not just giving them something, but the right thing.
Definitely. And that certainly comes through because you're very much an innovative company, aren't you? And it's about bespoke solutions. Are there particular companies that you work with, particular verticals, or is it right across the industry?
It probably is surprising, but it really is across a variety of retailers. We work with supermarkets, food and drug, wine, spirits, apparel, specialty, health, beauty, really all of them.
Wow, That's incredible. That must make it so interesting for you as well, that no 2 days are the same.
Never a boring day. And that's a big part of why made me want to come to Sekura. I love the variety and the innovation, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so you look after the North America region. What types of sort of crime and security issues are businesses telling you that they're concerned about at the moment?
Well, crime has gotten so much more aggressive. There's an increase in crime, but really the aggressive crime, the ORC, and that's impacting all of those businesses, regardless of vertical. And so their situations are different, but they're similar. And it's really, I think all of them realize you can't stop this, completely, but you try and kind of parse it out and where can we make a difference? And that's where we try to come in and help them make that difference.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm seeing there's some really great things happening in terms of legislation, in terms of policing, but it seems quite slow. That takes time, doesn't it, to actually get things in place and begin to sort of signal to criminals that, the risk is being elevated. So what's your advice to businesses then? How can they protect themselves whilst waiting for, these slow motion changes to take place?
Yeah, big changes take time, to your point, and they differ depending on where you are in the country. So we look at making changes, again, in segments where we can. And we feel that if we approach it by giving them solutions that are saving time and saving loss by decreasing that theft, but also keeping it safe for their employees. Employee safety is at the top of all of their minds, regardless of retailer.
Absolutely. And I've always been so shocked by some of the figures that come out of North America in particular in terms of store associate violence, even fatalities. And I mean, you mentioned it, the increasing willingness to use violence by these criminals. So, over the summer, we saw in California, the smash and grabs taking place, not just one or two individuals, this was 30, 40 people storming into these stores and just so willing to attack anybody that gets in their way. How do you, as a security company, how do you signal to those offenders, don't try and target these stores? What's the sort of strategy that you would suggest?
I think where we are seeing the most success is benefit denial. How do we decrease their profitability? How do we make it harder for them to do what they're trying to do? So what we've done is we've come up with solutions, again, that are easy to implement, easy for the associates to deal with on a day-to-day basis, but that also deter those criminals. We have something called Megalock that we're having a lot of success with. And it's,
Fantastic.
yeah, it's
Tell us
really
about
exciting.
Megalock. That I love the name of
I know,
it.
it
For
sounds just like,
starters.
wow, yeah, it is. It really deters theft and deters the benefits that they get out of it because they are unable to access a product, usually without damaging it or decreasing the value of it.
Yeah,
So if it's so hard for them to get at it or for them to, again, get it without damaging it, why do it? So then they move to
exactly.
another location.
Yeah,
So it's sort of moving the problem a little bit, but it's decreasing it for that retail partner, and it's making it a safer place for their associates. It also
definitely. Yeah.
eliminates some of the, I think, confrontational elements. You may have that loss once or twice, but then they realize this is not worth the
Yeah.
time and effort.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Because I guess it sort of hits the criminals where it hurts, isn't it? They're not able to then translate what they've stolen into profits. They can't get the cold hard cash at the end of the day
exactly.
because they either destroy the product trying to remove the tag, and find that it's just simply too difficult, so they can't then sell it on. But it's really interesting, isn't it? Because trying to sometimes explain that benefit denial to people, they don't necessarily follow that. Okay, you might still have the initial losses, but as soon as that individual realizes it's not worth my time and effort to target that store, it's too high risk, the rewards are low, so we flip to that sort of dichotomy of risk and reward, then that's when you begin to see the return on investment.
Exactly. It may take a few weeks, usually 2 to 3, and then we see a change, and it's usually very dramatic. So that's rewarding. We love it. I love it. That fires me up,
Yeah.
and our customers love it. So it's
Wow.
really it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some magnets already on the market, isn't there? What is there about Megalock that makes it so mega?
It is mega. It's like the supersonic strength in the tags. And we do a variety of solutions, of tagging solutions. So it can work with wine and spirits. It can work with health and beauty. It can work with apparel.
Solution.
We have a variety of tags, but they are all in our Megalock family.
Wow. Okay,
So, yeah.
that's exciting. So you're not having to learn how to apply or remove different types of tags. They all are interoperable with the same
They all
system.
have Megalock. Yeah. And it really takes some of our best-selling solutions. I think Sekura is really good at saying, okay, so we've got a great solution. How can we make it better? And that really was pretty much the birth of Megalock.
Wow. And I guess it goes back again to that sort of bespoke solution, doesn't it? So if you do have a business that has under their four walls, that they have a whole range of different merchandise, that then they can just have one family of
Exactly.
solutions. Okay, that's really cool. Roxanne, I guess in your industry, you have to be quite passionate. You want to see results. We're seeing a huge amount of ORC. We're seeing a lot of theft. We're seeing a lot of violence. And I think that can sometimes take a toll on people that are working in this industry. How do you sort of maintain that passion and, feel like, yes, I'm ready to face another day again?
Yeah, some days I guess I don't know, but the passion is definitely where it comes from, but the passion is there. I've been in retail, I'm older, I'm 100 years, right? So 100 years ago, I worked, I was a sales associate, right? I've worked in stores, and then I became a store manager or a regional manager. And so I've really worked out in the field and on the front line. And I've never forgotten that. I've loved those years. Now I've spent years selling, to retailers. So retail's been my life. And
that's so fascinating because quite a few people in roles like yours have come up through sort of law enforcement or security. So, but no, you were on the sales floor. Wow,
yeah.
okay.
So I love that. And I love going into stores. And when we work with any of our retail partners, we are certainly working through corporate offices, but we're out in the field. We are on that front line. And that, I think, is a big part of what keeps me fired up because I love when they're excited. I love their passion and their commitment.
Yeah.
And it makes me want to win the battle for them.
Definitely. And sort of work as a team with them as well. It's a shared issue, isn't it, across the industry?
Very much.
And what I love about that as well is that we're seeing so much more partnership work. We're seeing people now much more willing to sit around a table and talk about how do we solve this as an industry rather than just being, quite protective, over having those conversations. So I think that's probably the only positive perhaps that's come out of the rise in crime that we've seen in recent times.
I think it's a shared belief that, it's high. A lot of it is driven by the ORC, as we've talked about. But it also, the economy is tough. There's a lot of people that are struggling. So there's a lot of different types of crime that are happening out in the marketplace. And I think most people share the belief that it's not going away anytime soon. So they have to collaborate. They have to come together because that's the only way that they're going to win.
Yeah, definitely. And I think particularly around the North America region, Europe as well, cost of living crisis has really hit people hard.
Yeah, very much, very much.
Definitely. Thinking back over your career then, you've talked about being very passionate. You've talked about, starting from almost like the grassroots of retail. Is there anyone that stands out in particular as a hero of yours or as a career idol?
I don't know if it's a career idol, but it would be kind of a life idol. And I'm a huge American football fan. So so Vince Lombardi is a football coach from many, many years back. Very old school. He was very passionate and he was tough, but he had a lot of heart, and he brought that to his game every day. He looked for that from his players every day.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, he set records, and he is an icon and one of my heroes. So I try to be like him, and I try and take that approach every day. Bring everything onto the field because then you'll get everything out of it.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah.
Has he written like an autobiography, or is there biographies about him so you can sort of learn his sort of style and coaching style?
Yeah, there's a lot said about him. He was a pretty tough figure, and he's been passed on for many years now. He was one of the first football coaches for one of the first football teams. He's from Brooklyn, New York, not that far from where we're sitting right now. Exactly. So, but there's a lot of quotes, a lot of just amazing quotes that came from him. But he was an incredible man, and he achieved a great deal in his relatively short life.
Wow, that sounds really amazing. I'll have to look him up.
Look him up.
I will do. And I've just started getting into those sort of motivational quotes as well. Like quite a few people post them on LinkedIn, and sometimes, there's one that just really catches your eye and you just think, and it can sort of begin to reset the way you think.
Right.
So what's exciting you at the moment? What's on the horizon in terms of product development, in terms of security? What are you thinking? This is where things are headed, do you think?
We have an amazing team. I feel very fortunate that our R&D team, they're so creative and they're so bright, but they're also very grounded. So they're working on several new solutions right now that we hope to have out in the next probably 6 to 12 months that I think will just strengthen our portfolio and bring a lot of value to our customers. They're going to fill niches that need filling. So I'm very excited about those. And I think our Mega Lock is going to continue to expand and grow and become a stronger element in our portfolio. We're finding it to be so meaningful. And so that's exciting because that's a whole new path for us to explore.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Wow, that does sound like exciting times ahead. Thank you so much for joining me today. Yeah, really interesting. And there's just so much taking place, as you said. And I think as well, the Sekura are testing their products with offenders as well, which I think is a really cool way of really taking them to market to prove, that they are sort of robust and signaling to offenders that, don't target us.
Yeah, it's great. We try and take every approach. If you take one road in, you may get there, but if you can take several roads and really learn all sides, I think it makes it that much stronger for everyone, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
And no pun intended, stronger for everybody.
I know. I'm very funny.
That's a mega lot. Brilliant. Thanks so much, Roxanne.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Okay, so I'm joined now by Laeticia Bourcier. She's the accounts manager for Sekura in France. It's really great to see you, Laeticia. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thanks for having me today, Emmeline.
I'm so excited to talk to you about all the exciting things that Sekura are doing, particularly around the sort of European region, which sometimes can feel quite different to other parts of the world. And obviously, we've spoken to Roxanne. She delivers across the North America region. So yeah, it'd be really interesting. The same company operating in very different parts of the world.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about your role with Sekura? How long have you been with the team?
Sure. Well, I've been working for Sekura for almost 2 years and a half now. So I think that from the company perspective, it has been decided with Brexit. I have a background in the retail part by working in first as a supermarket manager, well, department manager, and then I've been in the sales part first for L'Oreal. I've been working for them as a rep. And then after that, I worked during 12 years in the apparel industry for some luxury brands, both French and Italian, such as Kenzo or Moncler. And I was really excited to join Sekura because it's a totally different challenge inside the retail industry, something that I was very curious about, and where I think that there's a real value addition that we can add and offer new solutions, new products. They are really into innovation. And I think that this is how we are trying to introduce Sekura to France, is by showing that we are not only selling, but we are providing solutions to ease their life.
One of the things that really comes across about Sekura is that it's a very bespoke solution. It's not off the shelf, off the peg, one size fits all. How do you go about understanding what the specific issues are for a potential client so that you can then tailor the solutions to their specific issues?
There are so many, because indeed, talking about France and comparing how it works versus rest of the world, if I can say, all those retail networks are built around, well, not all, but majority of them are built around the concept of franchise. So if you talk, for example, to a big hypermarket name in France, you may talk to 400 different CEOs. So they will not all have the same inputs, the same objectives, the same KPIs. So I think this is a tricky part. So we are trying always to find what's going to be interesting for them, whether it's the product offer, whether it's just something easier for their staff in their everyday job, or if it's just like pricing motivations or innovations. I mean, it can be a lot of different aspects. So I think this is really trying to connect with the people and find what's going to be the turning point for them.
And you've worked on the shop floor for several years. Do you find that useful to sort of bring that on the ground experience into then developing the solutions around security? You very much, I guess, have experienced those issues, sort of in terms of shop theft and other retail crimes.
Right. I think this is a real asset. Well, for the joke, most of the time I can see with my nails are never done. I'm just used to go to the store, tag with the people, and I think this is really the strength of Sekura. I mean, the fact that right now in France they got their own staff and their own eyes on the floors and the reality of the market here helps to grow the company, to develop the right products and have a long-term vision for like every different vertical markets. This is a key asset, I think, for the company to have someone who is here, who is able to just talk with the people and understanding the fact that I've been there, I've done that, and I can understand their challenges and what's going to be really for them a way to ease their life. Because tagging security, it can be kind of scary for people to just like consider that they are not safe at work. They are doing something. I mean, tagging some €5 product can be kind of a really frustrating at some point in work, and you need to understand what's the big picture.
It can be so culturally specific. I think, the expression of crime, I think, can vary by country, and then the solutions and the acceptability of customers to different solutions. I think, video and CCTV is a case in point, particularly across the European region. Now, you're in charge of France for Sekura. So tell me, what are some of those issues that you're seeing in France, and how they might be slightly different to other locations? What are the core concerns of retailers over there?
I think one of the biggest concern is that everyone is a potential stealer in the store. From very basic €6 products till the people who are going straight to the truck delivery gangs who are just threatening the employees, the truck driver to collect straight from the boxes, the products. We have a lot of different problems. And on top of that, this is something that is growing and trying to be blocked is also internal theft. This is really an issue in France.
Interesting, because the past sort of 6 to 12 months, I think, we've really shone a light on external theft, and whether that's, organised retail criminal gangs, whether it's prolific drug affected offenders, or whether it's that sort of everyday sort of what seems to be, a cultural acceptance of shop theft. It's very much been focused on external crime. Tell me a little bit more about internal theft then. Is there much intelligence about how this is happening, or whether it's in particular verticals? Do we know much about the data in terms of internal theft at the moment?
In terms of data, we can say that for some stores, I'm thinking about DIYs or grocery stores, it can reach until 50%. Also department stores or some of the key apparel stores. So this is also why some are very interested in RFID more for the inventory part. But considering internal theft, it's true that I think the use of CCTVs in France and GDPR is really different to what we can experience in the US or in the UK markets. So people are not so scared of, having their face on a camera and doing their own business. So they just consider that it's going to be absorbed by the margins of the store. And
so do you think there's that presumption that, it's sort of built into the profit margins, it's sort of expected even? That's really challenging, isn't it, to then sort of counter that narrative that somebody might hold?
Yeah, really. It's really challenging, but I think also this is why Sekura is now coming as a great expert and specialist, because we help on both external and internal by changing the processes and implementing new solutions.
So say you've got a client that comes to you with a particular issue, whether it's internal theft or external theft or other types of concerns. How do you work through them? What's your methodology to begin to reveal whether it is process driven, whether it's technology that might be the solution? What's your, immediate sort of process that you put in place?
What is really important, I think, is always trying to understand the reality. So we are always going to the store, trying to understand what's the reality inside. So we go for store walks and we talk with maximum of people, trying to understand. I think it's more about what are the different hypotheses that we can have. So we will work on whether it's internal theft. So we will work on a specific process, how much that would be to implement this process, and what kind of KPI we want to reach, what's going to be the target for this. And same, sometimes they got also gangs or thieves who are coming, stealing. They want the perfect, well-conditioned packaging to make sure that they can resell after that. And what we want is to prevent this to happen. So we are trying to reorientate the thieves on something else. And the most challenging part is on the very small stealers who's gonna just like, instead of a Lindt chocolate, if you protect the Lindt chocolate, they're just gonna take another chocolate because they don't really mind. They just want it for their personal use. This is really the challenge.
So you mentioned theft of chocolate and confectionery, and it's a really interesting hot product, but also I think it reveals that some crime can be seasonal. Obviously, it's Easter at the moment. Are you seeing that reflected in the French market, that suddenly, there's an uplift in the theft of chocolate?
Totally. At the moment, as you said, it's Easter time, so chocolate is an issue. It's actually really challenging to protect chocolates in stores. But if we are talking, for example, about tablets, it's really massive in terms of reselling, especially in big cities such as Paris or Marseille. We have faced this issue because they always have kind of a little like street markets. So you have gangs who are coming to the stores, they just steal and they go straight to the street market and they resell what they just stole. Some are coming in the morning, they do their own stealing, and it's going to be their turnover, their target turnover for the day. And the stores are just helpless because, I mean, they are first focusing on alcohols and then on consumer electronics. Then you got apparel, you got cosmetics, very expensive ones. And if you need to run to someone who just stole some chocolates, your day is going to be very long, I believe.
That must be so challenging. And so it seems to be that the stolen goods get sold on market stalls. That seems to be the trend in France. That's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be the same. Seasonality is going to be the same, like with the sunscreen very soon, or all these types of products.
Yeah, I mean, it almost just replicates, a legitimate business, doesn't it, in terms of what's in demand from the consumer base. Do you think those customers that are buying those products from market stalls are aware that it's stolen produce, or do you think they're sort of turning a blind eye so that they can get a bargain?
I think they don't really mind, unfortunately. I'm taking the example of those markets, but to be honest, this can be the same with the expansion of websites such as Vinted, or even we got a French website called Le Bon Coin, very famous, where everyone can publish things that they want to sell. So people are not really, like, of course, not food, but probably cosmetics. They don't mind buying fragrances or cosmetics as long as the blister is still on it. They are able to buy where they find they're going to have a good deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think regulating that online marketplace really has to be a focus of governments moving forwards. So tell me a little bit there. We've sort of talked a little bit about innovative solutions, about some of the challenges of securing specific products and merchandise. And so what are some of the exciting things that Sekura have been developing to respond to current security issues?
Definitely the game changer has been Megalock. We can see it because I don't know if you heard about the riots that we had experienced in France last year. At that time, we had already a few stores equipped with Megalock because that was the beginning of the presence of Sekura in France. And the positive aspect has been incredible because those stores that were just like invaded by people stealing on the shelves and destroying the store, just basically. And the feedback I had was that all the detachers remained on position. So on all the POS, nothing has been stolen. And even if, for example, I take the example of alcohols, even if the bottles has been stolen, those were like at the end they were not used for resale because the protections were still on the bottles. So they found many broken bottles, which is good for insurances. I'm sorry to say that, but yeah, that was one of the point. They couldn't open the bottles by themselves. And right now, I still have some security directors calling me and say, we just caught a few people stealing with aluminum bags, and every bottles that they had in the bags were not protected with your solutions. So now they are making sure that they are not leaving the store with Sekura tags on their products.
It's so interesting, isn't it, how the word gets out across the criminal fraternity very quickly that, okay, you might steal something once, but you're not going to go back and do it again if the benefit has been denied. And that's very much what Megalock is about, isn't it? So you can't remove the tag, so you can't sell it on. I always love asking interviewees about who their heroes are, who's been influential throughout their career journey. And for Roxanne, it was an NFL coach that she found particularly inspiring. Is there a particular idol that you have looked up to, whether that's someone, famous or just somebody who's given you advice or a helping hand along the way?
I may not be very original with my answer, but thinking about someone really inspiring and supportive for me has been my parents. They are just so impressive. I mean, they are just everything that you can expect from great parents. I mean, they are still very dynamic. They have worked like crazy, and they are always passionate. And this is something that I really like with my parents. They are always, trying to be curious about what we are doing, and always showing the right example of being honest and hardworking. And they are very funny as well. Which is something that,
a big shout out to Laeticia's parents. What are you excited about? What's on the horizon for Sekura? Obviously, we're coming out of a really challenging space for retail. What are the glimmer of hopes or the things that are getting you excited in the future?
Well, what I can think about at the moment is that integrating technology in our actual strength, I would say. Thinking about RFID, which has been really a challenge recently, because a lot of people has thought so far that they need to choose whether security with current technologies or evolving to RFID technologies, which involves, let's say, less securization in store. And right now, I think the best challenge that Sekura is having at the moment, and I think that we will be soon coming with great projects, is going to be combining both. So having the best security and combined with the RFID technology.
Wow, it's such an exciting space, isn't it? Yeah, I think you're absolutely right in terms of that integration being really key. Laeticia, it's always so great to talk to you. I feel like I learned so much from all of our conversations. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks a lot, Emmeline. That was a pleasure.